For 3 years, she was a ghost on the flight line, just another tech loading ammo. But when a careless reach exposed the forbidden ink on her forearm, the squadron's top pilot stopped dead, his datapad crashing to the ground. The wind at forward operating base Nightingale was a physical presence, a relentless blast of heat that scoured the canyon walls and carried the mingled scents of aviation fuel, hot metal, and dust. For Anya Petrova, it was the soundtrack to her invisibility. For 1,095 days, she had been a shadow, her face perpetually smudged with grease, her uniform a nondescript gray against the rocky landscape. She was Technician Petrova, the quiet one, the ghost who worked alone and never spoke unless spoken to. Her movements were a study in efficiency as she armed an AH-64 Apache, her hands gliding over the missile pylons with a familiarity that bordered on reverence. Other ground crews worked in pairs, their laughter and complaints swallowed by the roar of returning helicopters. Anya worked in silence, her focus absolute. Captain Decker, a man whose voice was perpetually an octave too loud, stomped past without a glance. Petrova, Hangar 4 needs a full diagnostic on the new bird when you're done here. Don't take all day. Yes, sir, she murmured to his retreating back, her voice flat and devoid of emotion. The order was a deliberate slight. A full diagnostic was a two-person job that would take hours. It was just another drop in the ocean of daily dismissals. She cataloged it, filed it away, and continued her work. From across the tarmac, Major Leo Vance watched from the shade of a command tent, sipping from a canteen. He was the squadron leader, a pilot known for his preternatural calm under fire and an almost obsessive attention to detail. He'd noticed Petrova before, not for who she was, but for what she did. He'd seen her recalibrate targeting pods with a precision that exceeded the manual's requirements. And just yesterday, he'd watched her run a hand along the hydraulic lines of a returning Apache. She'd paused, her head cocked, as if listening to something only she could hear, before producing a small wrench and making a fractional adjustment to a fitting that 3 senior mechanics had already signed off on. He later learned she had silently fixed a micro leak, a flaw so minor it would have gone undetected until it became a catastrophic failure at 5,000 feet. She never reported it, never sought credit. She just fixed it. There was a quiet competence about her that felt out of place. It was a dissonant note in the carefully orchestrated chaos of the base, and it intrigued him. The tension in the pre-mission briefing room was thick enough to taste. Maps of the jagged canyon network scrolled across a large screen, dotted with intelligence markers. Major Vance stood at the front, outlining the day's high-risk reconnaissance mission. Intel suggests insurgent leadership is using a cave complex in the Kilo 7 sector. We're going in to confirm weapons hot. Lieutenant Colt, Evans, young, brash, and convinced of his own immortality, pointed to the ordnance manifest on a side monitor. Sir, with all due respect, who authorized the loadout on Apache 3? It's running a split configuration. Hellfire's mixed with thermobaric rounds. That's a waste of a pylon. Standard, he would be more versatile. His tone was laced with the casual arrogance of a pilot who had never had to think about the logistics of his own armament. A murmur of agreement rippled through the room. The configuration was unorthodox, specialized. Vance's eyes scanned the manifest, then lifted, searching the faces in the room. Who armed Apache 3? A crew chief spoke up. Petrova, sir. She submitted the change request this morning. Before Vance could respond, a smooth, cultured voice cut through the room. An interesting tactical decision for a ground technician. Commander Julian Croft, the newly arrived intelligence liaison from Joint Command, stepped forward. He was impeccably dressed, his posture rigid, his eyes holding a cold, analytical gleam. He exuded an aura of quiet authority that made the pilots shift uncomfortably. Croft walked over to Anya, who was standing in the back of the room, ostensibly to deliver a final data card. He lowered his voice, but the predatory quality was unmistakable. Technician Petrova, isn't it? I'm curious. What's the theoretical basis for your suggestion? It seems a rather sophisticated choice for someone at your pay grade. The question was a scalpel, disguised as curiosity. Anya didn't flinch. She kept her eyes respectfully lowered, her body language that of a subordinate being questioned by a superior. "Sir, the mission brief mentioned the target was a fortified cave system. Manual 7-4, Section B, Paragraph 3, suggests thermobaric ordnance for hardened subterranean targets in this type of geological formation. I was just following the terrain adaptability protocols." It was a perfect answer, plausible, deferential, and sourced directly from a dense technical manual no pilot would ever bother to read. Croft's smile didn't reach his eyes. "How very diligent of you." He knew she was lying, and she knew he knew. The air crackled with their silent battle of wits. Vance, sensing the undercurrent, made a decision. The low doubt stands. Petrova's reasoning is sound. "Let's move on." Colt Evans slumped back in his chair, annoyed. Commander Croft gave Anya one last, lingering look before returning to the front of the room. The calculated risk had paid off, but it had also painted a target on her back. The final hour before mission was a symphony of controlled chaos. Anya moved through it like a phantom, her presence felt only in the perfect readiness of the machines she touched. She was performing a final check on the countermeasures suite of Vance's Apache, her body angled into a tight maintenance hatch. The work required her to reach high above her head to secure a new flare magazine. As she stretched, the sleeve of her gray fatigues, already worn thin from years of hard labor, pulled back several inches. For a fraction of a second, the skin on the inside of her right forearm was exposed to the harsh sunlight. And on it was a tattoo. It wasn't decorative ink. It was a stark, precise emblem. A stylized, hooded specter, its form rendered in sharp, black lines. Woven into its cloak was a star chart. The 7 stars of the Big Dipper, their positions forming a celestial coordinate. It was a symbol of a ghost, a mark of the officially non-existent. Major Vance was walking towards the helicopter, his datapad in hand, reviewing last-minute intelligence updates. He looked up to ask her a question about the flare system just as her sleeve slipped. His eyes locked onto the tattoo. The world seemed to slow down. His mind, trained to process threats in milliseconds, raced through classified archives. He saw a redacted after-action report from the Damascus extraction, a mission so secret it was spoken of only in whispers. He saw a single, grainy image of an operative, face obscured, with that exact same star chart visible on their gear. He saw the official designation, Spectre Cell, a unit of deniable operators, ghosts sent to the darkest corners of the world, a unit whose members were all listed as killed in action. The datapad slipped from his numb fingers. It hit the tarmac with a sickening crack of shattering glass, the sound unnaturally loud in the roar of the flight line. Anya heard the sound and pulled her arm back instantly, her sleeve falling back into place. She turned, her face a mask of carefully calibrated surprise, the kind a low-level technician would show when a senior officer drops something. But her eyes, for one fleeting moment, were not the eyes of a mechanic. They were cold, hard, and held a clear, unmistakable warning. Not here. Not now. Their gazes locked in a silent, high-stakes conversation. Shock warred with dawning comprehension on Vance's face. He saw the woman who fixed hydraulic leaks no one else could see, the technician who made brilliant tactical decisions, and the ghost from a legendary Black Ops unit, all standing before him in a grease-stained uniform. He gave a barely perceptible nod, a silent acknowledgement that he understood that her secret was safe. Visibly unsettled, he bent down, picked up the shattered datapad, and walked away without another word, his entire perception of reality fundamentally altered. All call signs, Nightingale is green. Mission is a go. The 4 Apaches lifted into the sky, their rotors beating the air into submission as they banked towards the Kilo 7 sector. Inside the command bunker, the atmosphere was electric. Screens flickered with telemetry data and live gun camera feeds. Anya stood at a secondary console in the back, her official role to monitor engine performance. Her real task was to watch the data streams, searching for the digital ghost she had been hunting for for 3 years. Spectre lead, this is Spectre 2. Vance's voice crackled through the speakers, calm and professional. Approaching Waypoint Alpha. No visual on hostiles. Commander Croft leaned over the main console, his presence casting a pall over the room. Lead, intelligence update. We're showing heavy electronic interference emanating from the eastern ridge. Divert and investigate. Anya's eyes narrowed. Her own passive sensors showed nothing on the eastern ridge. All the chatter, faint as it was coming from the west. Croft was deliberately sending them into a dead zone. It was a trap. Copy that. Nightingale, Vance replied, his Apache beginning a slow turn. Then, all hell broke loose. In Vance's cockpit, the world became a nightmare of digital noise. His heads-up display exploded with dozens of hostile threat indicators. Ghost targets flooding his fire control system. Red triangles representing anti-aircraft batteries and surface-to-air missiles appeared out of thin air. Worse, the IFF, identify friend or foe. Transponder on Spectre 3 began flickering, intermittently flagging it as a hostile. Nightingale, we're being spoofed. Our data link is compromised. I have ghost targets everywhere. Vance yelled, his hands flying across the controls, fighting the corrupted system. In the bunker, chaos erupted. The main screens dissolved into a blizzard of static. Alarms blared as they lost the data link to all 4 helicopters. We're blind, the communications officer shouted. Their systems are completely compromised. Through the panic, Croft's voice rose, cold and venomous. He turned, his fingers stabbing the air directly at Anya. It's her. She was the last one to touch the armament and avionics systems. This is sabotage. Security. Detain her now. 2 military police officers moved towards Anya, their hands on her sidearms. She didn't run. She simply stood, her face a perfect portrait of a terrified, confused technician caught in a nightmare. Sir, I don't understand, she stammered, playing her role to the very end. You understand perfectly, Croft sneered, his face a mask of righteous fury. He held up a file. I ran a background check on you, Petrova. You have family ties to Eastern Europe. This is an act of treason. The accusation hung in the air, poisonous and damning, just as the bunker's main blast door was violently thrown open. The figure that burst through the doorway was barely recognizable as Major Vance. His flight suit was torn. His face was streaked with blood from a gash over his eye, but his gaze was clear and blazing with fury. He had managed to land his crippled bird and sprint back from the flight line. He took in the scene in an instant. The chaos, Croft's pointing finger, and the 2 MPs closing in on Anya. Stand down. Vance's voice was a raw command that cut through the alarms. He strode forward, placing himself directly between Anya and the security team. She is not the traitor. Major, you're injured and disoriented, Croft said, his tone dripping with condescension. This is a security matter. Step aside. I said, stand down. Vance repeated, his voice dropping to a lethal whisper. Or, I will personally explain to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs why you tried to arrest the Spectre. The name landed like a bomb in the silent room. The Spectre, a legend, a ghost. The senior officers who understood the reference stared in disbelief, their eyes darting between the bloodied major and the grease-stained technician. That's absurd, Croft sputtered, his composure finally cracking. The Spectre died in Damascus. It's in the official record. Official records can be modified. The voice that spoke was no longer the timid murmur of technician Petrova. It was clear, cold, and radiated absolute authority. Anya stood up straight, her posture shifting from subordinate to commander. The ghost was gone. In her place stood an officer. Major Vance is correct about my identity. She ignored the gasps and stared directly at Croft. The data link wasn't just jammed, it was hijacked. A backdoor program injected ghost signals using the exact same encryption signature as the one that compromised the Damascus extraction. An attack that originated from a terminal inside this bunker. This is insane. You have no proof. Croft blustered, his eyes darting towards the exit. Oh, but I do. Anya calmly walked to the main console, pulling a small, unassuming flash drive from her pocket. It looked like any other U-drive, but it was a military-grade decryption key. She inserted it into the console. The room watched, mesmerized, as she typed a rapid string of commands. A hidden partition on the server flashed onto the main screen, revealing a shielded program. With a final keystroke, the program's activity log was laid bare for all to see, a record of encrypted data bursts being sent to an offshore server. The last transmission was time-stamped just 3 minutes before Vance's squadron lost control. The sender's ID was clearly visible, J. Croft. The truth was undeniable, displayed in glowing green text. With a desperate snarl, Croft lunged for a nearby MP, trying to grab his sidearm. He never had a chance. Anya moved with blinding speed, a blur of motion. In 2 steps, she closed the distance, deflected his arm, and used his own momentum to slam him face first onto the console. A sharp twist, and his arm was locked behind his back. The transition from technician to elite operator was terrifyingly seamless. As the MPs rushed in to secure the struggling, cursing traitor, Anya Petrova, or rather, Colonel Anya Petrova, stood over him, her face calm and her mission finally complete. The revelation sent shockwaves through FOB Nightingale. In the hours that followed, as Commander Croft was led away in restraints, the base slowly pieced together the new reality. The quiet technician they had ignored, ordered around, and dismissed for 3 years was a decorated war hero, a full-bird colonel operating at the highest levels of Black Ops. The apologies were awkward and immediate. Captain Decker approached her in the command center, his face flushed with a deep, painful embarrassment. Colonel, there's no excuse for my conduct. Your conduct was exactly what my cover required, Captain. Anya interrupted, her tone professional but not unkind. You treated me like a low-level technician. If you hadn't, my cover would have been blown. No apology necessary. Later, as the sun set, casting long shadows across the canyon, she found Vance by the flight line, watching the ground crews repair his damaged Apache. How did you endure it? He asked quietly, the question he'd been wanting to ask all day. 3 years of being invisible, of being treated like nothing. Anya looked out at the machines she had tended to in anonymity for so long. When your mission is to operate in the shadows, you have to become a shadow, she said, her voice soft. Being unseen is the only armor you have. The mission is what matters. The lives you save. The rest is just noise. He nodded, understanding. What's next for you, Colonel? That's classified, Major. She gave him a rare, small smile. As she turned to leave for her transport, she pressed something into his hand. It was a challenge coin, heavy and cold. On one side was the base insignia. On the other, the hooded specter and the 7 stars. It was the highest form of recognition, an invitation to a world he never knew existed. Your transfer was approved, she said. Welcome to the shadows. Her transport plane waited on the tarmac. As she walked towards it, she left behind a base full of soldiers who would forever look at the support staff, the mechanics, the cooks, the clerks, with a newfound sense of wonder and respect. They would never know who might be hiding in plain sight, fighting a war they couldn't see. This story is a tribute to the unseen heroes among us. If you believe in respecting every person, regardless of their role, type respect in the comments below. Your story might be the next one we tell. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more incredible true stories.